What's up, dog?
Up.
What's up? What's up? What's up? We're back for another episode.
I like it. I love it. I want some more of it.
Another episode of What's Up, Dog. And we have another special guest here today. But first, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Brandon.
I am James.
I'm Keith.
And I'm Honey.
Yay!
I like it. I love it. I want.
So yeah, before we do start, let's get a thumbnail.
Who's
Okay. Okay, yeah, something new. Anyways, we're here to talk about something very different today on our podcast. Honey, she is a agility dog sport athlete. She
Yeah.
has won numerous of competitions, local competitions in Malaysia. She's also competed in world championships internationally
Yeah.
with her excellent dog. One dog that I really want. I'm proud to say a sibling of Baros.
A bit delayed. You need to practice.
Very proud to say that.
James, I think we
So,
need to just
Honey-
leave. It's all manly talk today.
Yeah.
Not Rottweiler. We're not
So technically here, right? So Honey, so both of them, they're Rottweiler guys, yeah. James is a
I used to
Rottweiler
have
guy. Keith is a
Rottweilers.
Rottweiler guy. Hey, but don't be fret not, yeah, because Honey used to have a Rottweiler too.
2 Rottweilers.
Yeah.
That's the
But
way.
there's a reason why they're gone. But anyways, Honey, we have a first question we're gonna ask you when we begin this episode today. It's going to be all about agility. We want to know more about you. We want to know more about the sport. We want to encourage people. So there's, of course, as usual, there's no, I would say, negative comments or whatever that we're going to say here. It's purely educational, inspirational, motivational podcast that we have here today. So the first question I have for you is, how did you get into agility?
I got into agility with my Shetland Sheepdog, Chilli. So it's just purely wanting to do something with her. So what I started with was dog tricks. I was doing a lot of dog tricks and I was researching online how to teach her the more advanced tricks. And then I saw this trainer called Sylvia Trickman. She was teaching her dog a lot of tricks. And basically in agility, a lot of our foundations are taught through tricks. So a lot of things that I was doing was applicable to agility training. And then when I saw them doing agility, it was like, wow, look at the synergy between them when they're running, the rapport between them in the course. And I was like, I want that. I want that kind of relationship with my dog as well. So
How long ago did you start training agility?
I think it was 7 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for the general public, before I ask deeper questions, what is agility?
What is agility? So basically, we run around the course. It's an obstacle course with about 20 obstacles, and the obstacle course always changes depending on the judge. So the judge has the creative, well, how do you say? They have the ability to just draw up something, a course for us, and then before we compete, we have 10 minutes or 7 minutes to walk the course. And then
Without the dog.
Sorry?
Without the dog.
Without the dog, yeah. So we
So
go.
that 7 to 10 minutes is purely to remember the course.
Yeah.
And
so
every time it's different.
And we walk it, basically finding where do we start? Where's the first obstacle? Where's the second obstacle until the 20th? And then we have to plan how do we run it with our dog.
You plan it on your own, right? Like, for example, let's say that the course is whatever way, right?
Yeah.
But you yourself, you plan it the way you want to do it, or it's technically everyone's going to do the same?
So if it's a basic course, it's pretty simple. So most of the time, people will be doing about the same thing. The more advanced it gets, you would do the course according to your own strengths. and what you feel more comfortable doing. So you would
They
see
don't-
different people standing at different places to do the course.
Okay.
So you can't
So,
basically
From
train.
my understanding, there's like, okay, for of course our sport, IPO, we have BH, IPO1, IPO2, IPO3, but for agility, are there any different levels?
So for the FCI World Championship, it's the same 3 levels, 1, 2, and 3. So 1 is the basic one, and then 3, or sometimes
Well,
harder.
what's the difference between 1 to 3?
So the first level, it's pretty basic. So you might be running with the dog on the left side, and then you might just change over to the right side once or twice. So the second one, it gets harder. There's a lot more tricks, or it's harder in the sense that the course will be harder for you to remember. And the way
So for example, like,
through the course will be harder.
so for example, one of the, I'm not sure, but for example, I know they add extra obstacles, right? Like for example, when does weave come in, or when does
There's
a tunnel
always
come
the
in?
same. There's always
So
the same.
1, 2, 3 always has the same.
Yeah, all the obstacles are the same. So in an agility course, there's always the weave, the dog walk, the A-frame, and the seesaw. So there's always these obstacles. It's just
I
that
thought there's like always like a basic jumper or whatever, like
in
only jumping.
Malaysia, because we want to encourage people to start,
Okay,
and we want people to get into the sport and get rid of the cold jitters.
Right. So that is only applicable in Malaysia.
Some countries would do that as well to encourage newcomers and to let their dogs have more experience in the ring, because it's like getting stage fright when you go up to a stage to talk. All the eyes are on you, the environment's different. So it's a very good opportunity for the younger dogs to debut and then experience something very easy for them.
Okay.
Is there like a preset number of maybe there's two tunnels, and then I know nothing of agility, but I know there's a tunnel, there's like the seesaw. Is there like a preset every course will be, or it could be just a random number of like tunnels and the A-frames and all?
So it really depends on the club that's organizing. So if, let's say that my club's organizing, we will tell the judge, I have 4 tunnels in my club and I have 14 jumps, a dog walk, a seesaw, A-frame,
Okay.
the weave. And then the judge would just come up with the course himself, however many tunnels he wants to use, however many jumps he wants to use. But the A-frame, the seesaw, the dog walk, the weave, the tunnel, and jumps will always be inside.
Okay. And the course is always different. So like you can't train like for a particular course. Let's say if you're going for like.
No. So that's the mistake in the beginning. We used to teach the dog and we would redo courses over and over again. And then the dog starts to go like, I remember the course. They're really smart and they remember the entire course, even if sometimes I forget it. And then what I realized is that sometimes they remember the course and I might not be handling that well, but they're just doing the course. So they might not be listening to me. So we want them to be fast.
That's really tough, man.
So it's very handler. It's a very handler. What's the word? Specific spot where the handler has to say, okay, the dog doesn't even remember like if he goes to the weave, then the next one is the tunnel. Like you really need to guide the dog.
Yes, we have to guide the dog. The dog cannot make the decision themselves to take the obstacle. So the harder courses 2 and 3, especially 3, are at the World Championships. So let's just say there's a straight line and there's a tunnel in front. For the easier courses, it will be a straight line into the tunnel and out. Whereas for the harder courses, it might be you're running straight and then I, as the handler, will have to tell you, you have to turn left now and avoid the tunnel.
Okay.
Yeah. And some dogs who love tunnels will be like, nah, I'll just keep going. So that happens sometimes.
So I want to ask you, because again, we're here to talk about what kind of dogs would suit agility. What I mean, based on your experience, based on your knowledge, what kind of dogs can do agility?
So for agility, we have 3 height levels for now. In certain countries, they have even more height. So the dogs with a certain height will compete against each other. So you would think about small dogs, medium dogs, and large dogs. So for small dogs, they are a tendency to have a lot of Shetland Sheepdogs. And then the growing popular dog right now is the working Cocker Spaniel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What about the Border Collie?
So Border Collies tend to be medium or large, mostly large. So they are a very popular breed in the large category. You'll find a few malinois as well. You'll sometimes see a few golden retrievers, a few different breeds as well. But to get to that level, sorry?
Rottweiler. I just want to make
I
sure
know they are
that these guys, Malinois seems to do a lot of stuff. The Rottweilers.
Wasn't there a girl named Alicia or something? Alicia. She was doing agility with a Rottweiler.
冇人識佢啦。
Hey, she's a follower. She's a fan.
I know who. I know.
She
I thought you meant
she does
international.
agility with
I know who you're doing. Yeah, she does that.
with a Rottweiler in
CSC. Yeah, she does.
Yes. Represent.
Pika also. This girl with Pika. There's
Pika,
2 Rottweilers doing agility in Malaysia. Yeah. I thought you were talking about someone international.
Rottweilers, but I think in World Championship, because you're talking about the millisecond, so most people tend to go for Border Collies because of how they are built physically. It gives them the edge.
Sorry, I had some technical difficulties earlier, but I wanted to ask, right? So, do you have to run through the course in sequence? So you have to go to 1, 2, 3. You can't go like, as long as you cover everything, you're fine? No.
You have to follow the exact numbers, the exact sequence. So if you go off course, you will be eliminated. So.
Oh, really? So if I go 1, 2, I skip 3 and I get onto 4.
You will be eliminated.
Immediately.
You can continue running the course, but score-wise, you'll be eliminated.
Forget about it, right?
Yeah.
Wait, so when does the penalty come in?
So there will be a judge standing in the ring with you. So as you do the course incorrectly, they would actually raise their hand.
Oh.
Eliminated. So they will tell the scribe.
Then penalty? Because I know that they add on seconds to your final time.
Oh, like if you hit the
you hit the jump bar. So there is also penalty where there is when you hit the jump bar. So if the dog knocks the jump bar and it drops, or the tire opens up when the dog hits it. The other one is due to safety purposes for the A-frame, the dog walk. When you come down, the dog has to hit the contact zone, which is at the bottom of the plank, so that the dog will not jump from the top of the plank down to the ground. So they will look at that part of the plank. The dog has to hit it. So if the dog doesn't hit that part, again, you will get a penalty. And then there's also refusals where if the dog goes to a jump and then they stop and they hesitate.
So okay, I have another question.
Penalty as well. Sorry?
I have another question. Okay, I mean, just act like I don't know you and you don't know me, but I think the hardest part for me as a layman or someone who wants to get into agility is learning how to do weaves, right? But this is for me as a layman person, right? But in your experience, what is the most difficult section or exercise to train for in agility?
Well, for most people, again, it would be weaves. And then if you're talking about really being very competitive, a lot of them will tell you it's the running contact. So when they're doing the dog walk, most people will tell the dog to stop at the end so that they touch the correct part before you continue. So now what is happening is we're asking the dog to run through the whole contact, and you must hit that part. So you must learn to change your strides as you run. So depending on how you go up the plank or where you start, every time you go down the plank, you must hit this particular part. So
Is it like 1 feet on the contact or all 4 feet on touch the?
doesn't matter how many, but usually it will be, we will teach them the 2 hind legs to hit on it.
And because I get confused all the time when I watch it, right? I have no idea whether they were supposed to go left or right, and then sometimes they double back on the same jump. Does it matter if you double? Because sometimes I see them do like a U-turn back onto a jump. Does it matter if you come from the left side or the right side?
No, it doesn't matter where you come from, the left or right, as long as you're going the correct way.
Direction, okay.
Yeah, the direction. So
I think it's more like speed, right? So for example, let's say Honey does it in a certain way and I do it in another way, but Honey's way may be more efficient for her and her dog. Whereas for me, if I do it, let's say she goes left, I go right. But my right is because my dog can maybe turn faster on the right. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But they do this in a way that just to make that, because again, they're fighting against time.
yes,
It's not against points, right? So for us for IGP, IPO, it's all about points, right? But as for agility, it's time, which I think, right, if we're comparing sports, I think agility is more politically free.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's more
Because it's
objective
really based
because
on speed.
it's
Yeah.
purely based on speed and accuracy.
Correct.
The harder courses, let's just say the jump is in front of you, but instead of getting the dog to jump straight, we're asking the dog to go to the back side of the jump and then jump back towards me. So I could ask the dog to go through the backside from the right or from the left side. So we would have a command for each side as well.
Oh, wow.
Depending on like what Brandon was saying, depending on how efficient the lines are. So maybe if I ask the dog to turn right, it will be a longer line and it will be slower for the dog. Whereas going left side, it will be faster to get to the next obstacle.
Right.
So some people might choose one or the other depending on their dog.
Are there any classes for this agility right now?
They are.
I mean, do you hold classes, or for example, do you teach people? I mean, what's the best way someone, one of our listeners, could get into this sport right now?
Well, one of the best ways is just actually start doing it as tricks at home. There's a lot of things you can do groundwork. You can teach the handling movements just purely on the flat ground. You don't need.
What will your tips be? I mean, if you had any tips for someone aspiring to join this sport, what would your general tips
So
be?
the first thing I say, go online. There's a lot of online classes right now. So Silver Trickman has really good classes online, which you can learn and take them. So you could send videos and then she'll give you feedback. So there's Bat Dog Agility. There's a lot of different online teachers who can guide you. So you could join a course which they've actually designed how you start from your foundation to harder courses. And then once you have the foundations right, I would say go join a local club. So the CSC in KL. So we're in Penang. So yeah, we'll be happy if there are people who are interested to join us.
Is it a big community?
No, unfortunately not. It's growing.
It's growing.
But I'd imagine it'd be easier to attract. I mean, like it's less controversial relative to like IPO where there is biting and things that people generally feel uncomfortable with. This one is you have a dog running happily, freely through a routine. Like I would imagine more people would warm up to it easier.
Well, you have to be interested in sports yourself because you have to do the running.
You got to run as well.
So in the beginning, I was like, no, go out and run in the hot sun. I don't think so. And then I got bitten by the bug. So that changed.
In terms of like world championship, what's the biggest thing? I don't know, it's crafts. I can watch crafts. Is that like the biggest one in terms of like?
It's biggest in terms of viewership, I would think, because there's a huge audience and it's being aired everywhere. But the biggest in terms prestige wise and how hard it is, it would be the Agility World Championship, AWC. So there are a few organizations organizing world championships. The hardest of them all is the Agility World Championship.
When you say hardest, what entails in like making it the hardest? Is it like hardest to qualify, or the courses are tend to be more difficult?
For both, yeah. So especially when agility is very competitive in a particular country, like in Europe, America, and Canada, it's really hard to qualify to be the top 3.
Okay.
To actually qualify for the championship. And once you're there at the World Championship, so AWC, as we call it, is indoors. There's another outdoor one, which is also really hard. The indoor one, you have the added pressure of everyone in the stadium watching you. And then there's dogs around in the waiting area barking. There's people in the stadium enclosed cheering, music playing. So it's not just very demanding for you mentally and physically, but also for the dog.
So yeah, I mean, what are the fundamentals of beginning to qualify? I would say, of course, Malaysia is different because we don't have the numbers, but what are the fundamentals to join a competition? Like, what do you think it's necessary that you and your dog must have?
As long as you enjoy it. So if your country has the agility competition and you've competed, you can actually apply to go for the competition.
Is there like a set score, like you need to compete in like 3
timing.
No.
I mean, not like three competitions in a year and you need to be ranked?
No, not here. Whereas in Europe they will have the qualifiers. It's just like how they qualify for the Olympics. It's the same for the countries that have a lot of competitors. So they will have 2 rounds of qualifiers to pick the best of the best.
What do you think we could do in Malaysia to really increase the amount of people joining agility?
Wow. I think the thing is the basic knowledge of how to train dogs and how to bond with them. It would be the same as in IGP. How do you develop the relationship to work with your dog, to get them interested to work with you instead of just running away and not wanting to work with you?
I mean, yeah, I know a lot of people, right, who would rather do agility, of course, because they don't want all dogs to bite or track or do whatever, right? But agility would be a more open sport for a lot of people, right? Because even a Shih Tzu, a poodle can even do it, right? It doesn't matter. It's not breed specific, right? Whereas if you do IPO, you need a dog to at least jump 1 meter, right? That is the bare minimum for us, right? And of course to bite and all that stuff, but that's different. But for agility, I think it's very open in a way that any breed and anyone can join. So this is what I wanted to try and I mean the idea is of this particular podcast right now and this particular subject and topic is how are we going to do this to really get more people to join in and have fun with their dogs, right? So this is something that I think you should consider doing.
We should look into combining
We've done that.
Animal Sports Day.
We've done that. We've done that. Yeah. So our last, I think, my last competition was the same as when we organized. So let's backtrack a little bit. So Hani and I were in the same team. Okay, we're in Tigerland, and we're also under Malaysian Shetland Club, where we organize events like IPO. We organize agility. We organize seminars, workshops, and everything.
Search and rescue.
So yeah, I mean search and rescue as well, but that is on and off right now. So another thing is, when that time we organized IPO, we also organized agility on the same night.
Yeah.
This was when it was heavy, when the rain was super heavy.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
the
know. I don't
agility
know if you
went ahead
remember.
as well.
No, agility waited.
Come
They
on,
waited for
guys.
everything. IPO, I was the only one who was the unlucky one who had to compete in the rain. Everyone else was fine except me.
Until it came to you.
Anyways,
Karma,
that's
what
another
have you
subject.
done? What have you done, man? It's
Yeah,
bad
but yeah,
karma.
I was very proud that my dog could do it. That's the most important thing. It wasn't about the points that time. It was all about my dog still
get
did
through
it
this.
during thunderstorms and rain. He still obeyed my command. Yeah, but anyways, it's not about me today. It's all about Honey.
Actually, I wanted
So-
to ask, right?
What
Because
a sort of agility.
you were talking about Brandon was talking about how to get people to start into this, but like if I was a listener right now and I'm listening in, and my starting point could be getting a dog, so how would you or how would people in agility typically go about choosing a dog? Because for example, like in IPO or IGP, we know that we need to work the prey drive, we need the food drive, we need the defense drive, we need the aggression drive. So what sort of drive do you need to be very pronounced in the dogs that you want to take into high level agility?
Well, it really doesn't matter in agility as long as you're willing to spend the time to work with your dog. Because I've known many handlers who had dogs who are really scared, who had a lot of different issues, but they've managed to compete at the World Championships and do it
Wow.
very successfully with their dogs. So it really doesn't matter if the dog doesn't have foot drive or prey drive to play, as long as you develop the relationship with your dog and your dog trusts you. So the most important thing is trust and making it fun for them. So the whole thing is about letting the dog learn how to learn and making classes fun for them. So I think that's the most challenging thing, because I've seen a lot of people teach their dogs through force, or when they teach to jump, they use a leash and pull the dog across. So it's a lot about trust. I won't force you to do something you don't like. And then I'll teach it to you in a fun way that you feel that you're in control of the situation and you're willing to do it for me. So that's the challenging part. But now with the internet, like I said, there's so many online classes that you can just go into to get your foundation right. So, whatever dog you have at whatever age, you can always start agility with them.
You can use a mixed breed to compete in agility, right?
Definitely.
You can just adopt a mongrel and then
even for World Championships.
Yeah. So there is the FCI World Championship, which is the AWC. That is only for pedigrees. And then there is another organization which runs another World Championship, which is inclusive. So any dog with a pedigree or not can join in the World Championships. So at first they were talks about having agility in the Olympics. So they were going to use whatever WAO, World Agility Organization, their rules and how they were going to organize the events. They were going to do it that way. Unfortunately, they didn't get through the voting.
Really?
It's a pity.
Why? Was it discussed or was it disclosed? Why?
It's like squash. Squash until now is not an Olympic sport. I guess it's not so popular in many countries. So the committee in each country has to vote for it.
Yeah, but they allow equestrian, which is like even most non-exclusive sport.
Yeah, so
skateboarding too. Can you imagine?
Yeah, so skateboarding, we were hoping they would vote agility in, but skateboarding came in, and we're like, oh.
Yeah.
Maybe next round, who knows?
Yeah. So I mean, for you, but so you were saying that when in terms of temperament selection, it doesn't really matter because even a dog that is slightly frightful or nervous can still work. But for you personally, like looking for dog that you want to bring to the World Championship, right? Um, do you what's the big reward? Like, do you use toys? Do you use food? How do you approach the reward component of the agility?
So everyone would definitely prefer to use toys,
Mm.
but for me, my malinois, for her it doesn't matter. Actually for her, she doesn't get any rewards because for her running is a reward.
Mm.
And if I give her a reward, she's like, no, I don't want to stop. I want to keep going.
Wow.
So she's a totally different thing. So for her, it's just keep going.
Brandon, don't say anything, Brandon. Brandon, don't say
No, I
anything.
have to say it. I have to say it because
Brandon, don't.
so Gaga is Honey's dog, right? So she is probably the best agility dog in Malaysia. I honestly think so. It's not only the thing is, the funny thing is, we had this theory many years ago. Can a dog do more than one thing? Gaga proved us wrong, right? She can do search and rescue. She can do agility. She can do IPO. She's
been titled as well,
not yet, only BH.
but easily.
She has a BH title.
Well,
but
because I haven't been able to wake up for tracking, so.
Don't worry, tracking is for old men. That's why James likes it.
Pass the dog to me. The dog will gladly track the dog.
Yeah, but anyway, so the coolest thing is that for her to do all these different types of sports, it proves that a dog doesn't only need to do one thing and focus on it. But of course, not all dogs can do it, right? Gaga is something special. She's really, really special. That's why I actually wanted to have the same litter before I had my dogs, but timing wasn't right.
So I'm quite curious. So you have done multiple stuff, like you did IPO, you did agility, search and rescue. Why? And then among all, what do you think that pushed you towards like agility? Like, I'm just going to master this aspect of it, like this sport.
Well, agility is my first love. I came into the sports through agility. And because I got Gaga, I started dabbling into IPO, search and rescue. And I saw that she was having a lot of fun. So I continued with it. Okay. But I really enjoyed the agility part where it's always different. The courses are always different and nothing is set. I enjoy such a challenge.
Do you think your foundation in agility helps you with your other aspects in other sports like IGP and search and rescue?
Because for everything, it's all about your relationship with your dog. Once you establish that, you can do obedience, you can do agility, you can do IPO, search and rescue.
Would there be any conflict in training?
No, there isn't. No.
Because
it makes her faster. Yeah. Honestly, it really does. She is bloody fast.
Yeah, because I'm just curious, because the dog, like search and rescue, your dog needs to be independent. He's like far away from you, right? You won't give it any commands. Where agility is a very sort of like, how you put it, is like very command based. It's like left, right, jump, weave, and then tunnel. So I was just thinking, would there be a conflict when you were to do, like, how does the dog switch off and say, okay, I don't need to be so independent now. I need to follow what? And this one, like when you do search and rescue, the dog has to be like independent. You say, okay, just wherever you're searching for. Yeah.
So basically it's about the trust and your communication as well. So when you've established the communication, this is the job I want you to do. When you've taught your dog, this is the job, the dog understands it and the dog will do it. So it doesn't matter if you want the dog near you or away from you. So a lot of people here actually do think that obedience and agility are in conflict, because obedience, you want the dog heeling next to you. Agility, the dog is going away. But it's all about teaching the dog the job. And when I tell you to do this job, you do it, you perform it.
I think
so
you have to have very, very, very good obedience. the obedience has to be solid. For example, when your dog is running so fast and you trying to control your dog, you have to be able to have a very strong bond with it to be able to say, come, hey, left, right, hop, weave, whatever. And it has to be all in speed. So I remember one particular competition that Honey was doing. Here I'm gonna critique her a little bit, but in a funny way. Because Gaga was actually faster than Honey. That Honey became slow to be able to call her. So at the end, she missed an obstacle, which is right because you have, and then to a point that I've never heard someone complain that her dog is too fast. Honey was like, my dog is too fast. I cannot control. I cannot run faster than her, right? So this was like, it's a funny complaint because like not many people would complain. My dog is always slow or whatever. But in this case, it's more like, oh, my dog is too fast. I couldn't get her to get to the other obstacle. That is something that you also have to train in terms of your speed, in terms of your bonding. I think it's very evident that this is a very prime example.
If you want a slower dog, you could always consider a Rottweiler. Hey, but I got a question. So when I first learned about the sport of IGP, I read so many articles about living with an IGP dog or living with an IPO dog, because everyone have this concern like, oh, if I've got an IPO dog, is it gonna bite all my visitors, or every time you go to the park, is it gonna try and track? Like so there's this question of what is it like living with an IPO dog, and I read lots about it. But actually, it did cross my mind, like if I had a very driven agility dog, what is it like living with an agility dog? Like, is it hopping over my dining chair, my dining table all the time? Like, come on, let's go. And then it's sort of like going under the sofa and then coming on the sofa. Like, does your dog know when it's work time, when it's not work time, and how does that?
They are very smart. And in the agility world, a lot of the competing dogs are live-in dogs. They live together with the family. There's no issue. So with Gaga, what I had to do with her, because she was so energetic, when she was a puppy, I had to teach her to stay calm and lie down when I eat. So she slowly learned how to be calm and just lie down when I go to cafes or when I'm at home.
Oh, you bring her to
that
cafes.
was a top behavior, yeah. Cafes as well.
Yeah, I have a problem with that, right? Yeah.
The last time Brandon brought a working Melly to a cafe, he was not a happy diner.
It was the worst ever. Like I can't do it. It's sort of that thing, right? Where it's different upbringing.
So
it's completely different upbringing.
Every week
right?
I would bring her to a different cafe, and then she would get her reward when she's lying down and she's calm, and I'll give her food when she's lying down. And after a while, she got it. She's like, okay, when I go to the cafes, I have to remain calm.
By the way, honey, I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first day I met you was when you came for training, when you had your Shetland, and then I told you to get a Mali. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Did I have any influence in getting Gaga?
No.
Okay.
The
problem why I asked this,
I get a Shetland Sheepdog.
if I had any influence, no, the only reason why I asked this is because this guy James always says I'm a bad influence.
But he's never been able to influence me on the Malinois. Yeah. So
I won't. This one I won't. This one you buy.
Actually, why not a border collie?
Well, I was waiting to get another Shetland Sheepdog, but I couldn't get a breeder to sell a Shetland Sheepdog to me in Malaysia from Europe. So I wanted an agility line Shetland Sheepdog. It was really hard to convince someone to sell a puppy all the way here to Malaysia. And I was waiting and waiting for a few years already. And then Michael said, hey, I have a female puppy. Do you want her? And I was like, okay lah, since I'm not getting my Shetland Sheepdog.
But it's always good that you have a Mali.
Yeah.
In terms of like characteristics wise, what like for you said that any dog can take part in the sport, but is there like any particular trait that can bring the dog to the next level? Like because you were saying there's an agility line that you want the agility. Now what's the difference between a normal Shetland Sheepdog, a working line Shetland Sheepdog, and a agility line Shetland Sheepdog? What do you see? What's the difference?
What's the difference? Well, for me, I would think there would be a bit less work for me because hopefully the dog would be temperamentally quite good. And then at the same time, the breeder would have done a lot of work with the puppy. So in terms of sensitivity, in terms of their drive and enjoying play and exposing them to different environments. So it would make my job easier because I only have so much time to train in a day. So if I have less stuff to do with that dog, I could focus more on the agility part. It would definitely take more out of you if your dog is more sensitive.
Is agility an expensive sport?
I'm not too sure. But for me, it is because I had to get all the equipment.
Right.
Yeah.
How often do you train? And do you like train a particular thing individually?
In the beginning, yes. So we break everything down into individual components. And for us, the more we aim to go for the World Championship, we start to do a lot of other things like prehab, fitness, conditioning, and all that, not just the agility part. So let's just say the seesaw. So for most dogs, they'll be afraid of the movement from the seesaw, the sound that comes with the seesaw coming down, the bang. So we teach everything into small parts. We teach the dog to target a piece of paper or anything. So they learn to touch and touch and touch, love touching that piece of target. And then we bring the target to the door. So usually in the kitchen, I place the stick-it note on the door and I get the dog to touch the stick-it note. And then they start to learn that this thing moves and it's okay. And then when they slam the door, they get a reward. And after a while, they think it's fun.
Is Cap here?
She's outside.
Okay, no, because I want to. Okay, this is it will be a very special episode if you could show us something. I want to see. Yeah, I don't know who is it, but who can walk on the back and then go all the way to the wall, like backwards.
All of them.
Okay, let's show them. Let's show them.
How many dogs?
Okay, Chilli is here. So
Got 2 Shetland. Well, she actually has more dogs, but let's talk about the 3 main ones. The one that was neglected, which is called Chilli.
well, Brandon
Chilli is
selected her because I got Gaga.
Yeah, so Chilli is the Shetland, her first, her agility, her main agility dog, Shetland Shepherd. Then she had Gaga. Then she went to Europe. She went to England to pick up Cap, which is also another Shetland Shepherd.
Working line, Shepherd.
Shetland Shepherd, I don't know. Maybe it's for agility.
Chilli, come. Oh, I can't do it while I'm holding the laptop. Let me see if I can put it on the ground.
Can. Okay, cool.
Oh.
So yeah, that's the foundation we do when we teach them the seesaw. Then they like the banging sound, and when they go on the seesaw, it's that's the sound we're used to. It's very fun.
Did she do the handstand?
Handstand? Yeah. Chilli, go ahead, Sam. Go ahead, Sam.
My gosh, get out of here.
Yeah.
The heck?
Yeah.
I can just imagine like the dog going to every single door that's open and just closing the door. Bum. Like the toilet door, they just close the toilet door for you.
Sometimes when I'm in cooking, like I'm trying to get something out, and then she's like, "I'm closing the door for you. I'm closing the door for you."
How do you teach the handstand?
If you want to know, send you my bank account.
It's such a good
Party trick.
No. I mean, like in
No,
terms
no,
of
no. It's good for
the
hind legs.
dog's
It's really good.
awareness and the muscle building, it's actually quite a
correct.
good exercise.
Yeah. It also builds a lot of the muscles, strength.
Balance
Yeah.
and just not being not freaking out when your hind is over your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
basically,
all my
agility stuff is all these little tricks, and we also do all these tricks as conditioning
Mm.
to
so
strengthen.
honey, I
the
want to
muscle.
talk about this because previously you also helped me on this particular I'll say workout or exercise for my dogs, right? So because we have such vigorous activities in our sport, especially for agility, fitness and conditioning is very, very important to us, right? For
Mm.
IPO, for agility as well. So of course, during my time, I didn't know much about all this kind of stuff, and then I was very happy and privileged that Honey told me and shared her tips with me, in terms of supplements, what to eat, what exercises to do. So I want to actually share this with the public as well. What kind of exercises and supplements would you recommend for dogs to eat and do?
Well, the basic supplement I would say is probiotics and fish oil. And there's now a very new supplement on the market, which my dogs take. It's called 1-TDC, which is good for the joints, especially if the dog has certain issues, that hip dysplexia. They find it the owners usually see a difference. And also, it's also very good for the teeth if you open it and you rub it on the teeth. So for our dogs who exercise a lot, there's now a supplement which the bodybuilders always take. There's also the BCAA. So we give that to the dogs as well for recovery.
And then for exercises, what would you do? Because I mean, what I know is, okay, I don't do this, but I know I should be doing this, is really stretching out my dogs our arms and legs and stuff, making sure that their muscles are relaxed. So what kind of stretching?
Well, stretch, we have the physical stretching, and there's some stretches called frogs. You could Google them online. But I think for most people, for the general public, for strengthening, simple things like sit and stand and down. If you have this tree, you can do this tree with your dogs to build the hind muscles, the front muscles, the core muscles as well. So just repetition from sit to stand, sit to stand, sit to stand, either on the ground or front feet.
Well, that's a very good tip.
Or hind feet elevated, depending on which part of the muscles you want to work with. And you can even progress to a wobble board or those inflatable discs. So the stronger they get, you can start working on the balancing as well. So using the wobble boards and disc for them. So down to stand, down to stand. All this engages a lot of the muscles. So for the general public, those are the easiest things you could start with. There's a lot of complicated stuff to do as well.
Yeah, for sure.
These are very easy for anyone to do.
But I think it's very important, right? Because, okay, I don't know, a lot of people know this story or not. My dog jumped off the first story, right? But I think I've mentioned this before, have I, James?
On I forgot which episode, but it was
one of the episodes I mentioned, But anyways, my dog jumped off because we were doing search and rescue, right? So all I did was call my dog. My dog jumped out the window on the first story, and he landed onto tarmac. So I think what really, really helped him was the supplements that he consumed. Previously, we had BCAA, we had joint supplements, and we did a lot of stretching and exercises back then. So the coolest thing is that he never broke a bone, nothing broke, and everything was perfectly fine. But I think this all came down to the supplements and the exercises that he was doing that really strengthened his, and recovery was really quick as well. So the importance of fitness and conditioning, I personally think it's a subject on its own that we really need to emphasize in future. Of course, I think there's a few people in Malaysia who really have centers doing this. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, there's someone
we'll have to
in
figure that
KL
out.
doing it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, coming down to this, I think it's super important, especially if you're doing agility. the vigorous activities, agility, and of course IPO as well. And search and rescue, I think, as well as is another vigorous activity.
I think it's for any dog because all our dogs do grow old, and then
Yeah,
their
yeah,
muscles
yeah.
start to atrophy, and
Yes.
you want to keep them healthy.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've got a
Yeah.
I've got a
lifestyle.
10-year-old Rottweiler. And, I've seen Rottweilers which are 9, 10 years old, 11 years old, and they're quite fit. But my 10-year-old female, she has really deteriorated. Like you can see muscle loss, um, and her energy, the way she walks. But it's so hard to not um just sorry, it's so hard to just uh to try to make her do something, because in my heart I'm just thinking, just let her chill out. I won't bother annoying her with trying to stretch her and all that, but I know I should, because when I look at her sometimes I do think she's in pain, but dogs don't show it.
Yeah. So what you can do is no wobble boards, just simple stuff before the meals. You could just take 5 minutes of sit and stand. So just make sure that the surface is not slippery. They have a firm and steady surface for her to work on.
Yeah.
And just sitting and standing, down and
Yeah.
standing, just to work on
Yeah.
those muscles. Because
Yeah.
when they work on it, or if you massage it, you're actually stimulating more blood flow to the area as well.
True.
Yeah. Before like you do a competition, do you warm up your dogs?
Definitely, yeah. So I would
Wait,
spend.
let me add this. I want to add this.
Yeah.
I want to add this. I've never hired a masseuse for my dog, but Honey,
Oh.
Honey keeps her dog so fit. There's a professional masseuse who massages her dogs. But this
Malaysia?
is a true life in Malaysia. This is
Wow.
a true lifestyle of I would say a high level
I thought you
athlete.
said this sport wasn't expensive.
It depends on
Make it
how
expensive,
you want to
yeah.
do it.
Where, how far you take it, right?
Yeah.
No, but you know what? I think
it's
it's
a human
again.
masseuse, but I've convinced her that my dogs are fine. They love the massages. You can work on them.
How do you convince a human masseuse to go to massage your dog? Here's my dog. I'll pay you the same amount, but you do the same thing.
Well, basically, they're my friends and they know my dog, so it makes it easier.
But yeah, no, but I think it's like you said, Brendan. I think it's certainly a topic for another another episode, because there's things like acupuncture and massage for dogs, and I mean, they are like us, right? Skin, muscle, bones, mammals. I believe they have the same
Conditioning, it's so important.
they would have the same feeling of muscle tightness when you massage their muscles and then it releases. I forgot what is it releases, but I'm sure they feel the same relief.
Yeah, definitely they do.
Mm.
There are quite a few animal masseurs right now in Penang and KL, I should think. But I do use the people I know.
Yeah.
So my dog does.
James, you can pay me,
Yeah.
and I can touch your dog.
No, I've seen how you
I'll
touch
just
my dog.
click
And
it
it makes me a bit uncomfortable sometimes.
I did a diploma in.
Whoa! That's another subject.
For dogs as well, but
you did a diploma in what?
anatomy and also massage for dogs. But most of the time, I just let my friend do it for me.
That is like commitment.
That's next level.
Did you get a diploma after getting into the sport, or?
Yeah, I got it because it's MCO. I had time, and I'm like, I'll just do the course.
Also, it was very recent. It was just like within the last year or two.
Yeah.
Which like, was it a college or a university?
It's a college, online college in UK.
Nice.
I don't think agility is a cheap sport.
You got to do a diploma. You need a masseuse.
Just IPO, I would do the same thing.
So actually, that was one of my questions. The guys doing the ring sport will say that ring is harder than IPO and this and that, but not many would have done everything. So you have done a few. Which do you find is the most challenging for the dog? A, and B, which do you find is most challenging for the handler?
I think they're equally challenging for the dogs because for IPO, you don't want them to go into a routine. You want them to always be in high drive. That's a really hard thing to work on in IPO. In agility, it's hard physically and also for them to always be listening to your command. Whereas for handler wise, I would think agility would be harder because there is the pressure of time and then always going to a new course, remembering the course, how are you going to work with your dog? And then if you have a few dogs, you might be running them differently in the same course, taking a different route for the same obstacles. So you have to remember that.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
Actually,
We should try one day
Oh,
and
gosh.
see what happens, right? Like I think I would remember up to 3, and then
You
after
know
that,
what's gonna
4.
happen? I'm gonna
Hey,
get confused
oh, is
and
that
I'm actually gonna jump. I will jump in and
Yeah.
go, oh shit, not me, the dog.
But then, like for me, when I first took Coda, there was like a sort of like introduction to agility, right? I think for him, the hardest one was going into the tunnel when he was a puppy. So he didn't want to go into a tunnel, even though they shrink the tunnel into like a very small. He was just still very afraid to go into the tunnel. I think that's one thing that it's quite interesting. Like all dogs did it. My dog, which is never afraid of anything, he would jump on everything, was afraid to go into a tunnel. Yeah, so it's very interesting too.
Is it common?
It's common, it's very common. But again,
What's the
how you teach the tunnel to the dog, which now we teach the dogs the tunnel in a very different manner through clicker training. So once you use that method, they don't have any issues and they actually love the tunnel.
So there was actually one time when we were training in the same field, there was a tunnel. Baros loved going into the tunnel, right? He's never done agility. He's never done an agility, but he always was so fascinated to go inside and run through it. So I realized why. And it was all because of his upbringing. So when he was a puppy, Michael used to throw food because the whole point was to bring him to constricted places, right? Where so he's not afraid of anything. So when he was young, he used to eat inside the tunnel, right? So this comes down. I personally think it comes down to, of course, how you brought up your dog. Like even going upstairs, going downstairs. A lot of dogs are afraid going up and down, but because of your upbringing, they sort of develop this bravery to conquer all these obstacles at such a young age. So this again, I think, comes down to how you bring up your dog.
But if you start to do clicker training, you would realize it's so easy to teach all these little things to the dog as well.
I wanted to also ask, like,
Sorry?
I wanted to ask, you know, like, so in IGP, the ideal jump would be a dog that sort of jumps from really, really far away, full extension, looking like it's just a straight line, and then, you know, landing further away from the jump. Now, I would imagine that in agility, sometimes that would be slow because the dog spends so much time in the air. Is there a difference? Like, do you teach a jump where the dog launches from far away, and then there are jumps where you just want the dog to really be really tight and neat on just a short jump and then keep running?
Yeah, so we do teach the dog how to, we first start by teaching the dog to take a tight turn. So they learn how to turn tight when they're jumping instead of jumping really far before they turn right or left. So we teach them to prepare your body, shorten your strides before you.
Right.
So
it's like two different kinds of jump. You're teaching a short jump and a long jump.
Yes. Wow. And then even with the long jumps, we also do teach them through greets, through greet works, so that they learn how to jump. Because even with horses in equestrian, they do teach the horses how to jump. So some dogs jump naturally, so you don't have to do that. And for most people, it's that way until you come to a dog that has issues with jumping. And then you start learning all these things for the dog.
Yeah.
And once you start doing that, you'll be like, oh yeah, I'll do it for all my dogs because you never know which one will have an issue.
Interesting.
We should see her weave. It's the fastest I've seen.
Yeah, talk us through the weave, because you know what, like there is a competition in the US that's just on weaving. I think
Weave.
it's weave up and down,
really fun to watch.
right? And I thought it's kind of weird, because it's sort of like taking one aspect of IGP, like the blind search, and then making that a sport in itself, right? So what's so special about the weave? How are people teaching it? What separates a good weave and a bad weave?
Basically, it came from obedience, because healing was always on the left side. So the first pole they have to enter, there's 12 poles. The first pole they have to enter is, first pole is on the left, and they enter it from the left and then to the right. So that's how the rule came about. The dog has to enter from the left, first pole on the left. So in the past, a lot of people would teach true luring. So they're just holding a food in front of the nose and they go, okay, weave. So they might not get the accurate technique for weaving. Some do, but they will not get the independence. So what we do is we can start them young. We put the poles quite far away, and then we do recalls with them from one end to the other to the other. So there might be 2 foot bowls on either end, and then you run from one bowl to the other. And that's when Gaga goes, I just want to run. So from there, we slowly move the poles in nearer and nearer, and then they start to move their body and they start to do the weaving without them knowing. And then from there,
But even if the poles are really close, they would still fit, or they can barely fit through the poles, you mean?
Well, we start very wide, and then when we start moving it in, it's pretty fast until it's body width. Once it's body width, we move like maybe 1 or 2. We just move 1 centimeter, and then we move another centimeter. Sometimes we might just move 1 or 2 in the middle, whereas the outside poles are still wide. So it's like we're tricking them. We slowly just move it in. Every 2 or 3 sessions, we just move it a little bit. So they don't even know that we move.
So then, because they feel that they can't fit in, what do? They jump outside?
No, they don't. Because we just move it by 1 cm, they don't realize it.
Yeah.
So every few times we move a little bit, might be 2 or 3 poles. There's 12 poles.
Yeah.
So they don't even know that we've moved the weave so much until
when did they start doing that Jack Russell hop, like left?
I can't really remember how old, but basically when they're a lot older. But we do start them quite wide when they're about 7-8 months. They can go back and forth, no problem. And then from there, we can start teaching that system, the channel weave system. We can stand them from really far away, so that's independence. So my dog could be running this way, I could be running the other way, the opposite direction from the dog, or sending the dog from far. So they develop the independence, and I don't have to go with my dog to the weave.
And so what's a weave that you watch on telly and you go like, wow, that is, for example, for the long attack, right? The dog that sort of flies like vertical, horizontal across the screen, right?
Yeah.
So and then everyone goes, wow. But what is that wow weave
Moment.
that everyone goes like, that was a weave? Like what is it?
Yeah,
What
it's not so much
stylistically?
the weaving.
Sorry?
For us, it's not so much the weaving, because the weaving technique is very easy to achieve. It's more the independence of finding the first pole from a very hard direction. So you might be on the right side of the pole or the left side of the pole. It's harder when you're on the left side of the pole and you have to come to the weave. So this is your weave, and you have to enter from this end, not the end nearer to you.
Yep.
So from this end, they have to find the first pole and enter from the first pole and do the weave towards you.
Okay.
So the hard directions and from far away, it's usually the entry that people go, oh, wow, they nailed it.
Okay, so it's the entry.
Yeah.
How does the dog know which is the first pole? Like, do you give a command like to the end, or
Yang
Because
sebelah
the
sana tu, yang sebelah sana tu.
belakang. It's like how would like the dog know that will be like, because they say they could the other end. Like, do you just point to the other end?
Which of sending the dog to the other
Command.
end. If it's here, it would be like just here, leave. If it's further, you would use your hand to push your dog away.
Use the force.
It's your force, your chi.
So that's what she's talking about.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm just so curious, how many commands do you
Yeah,
use?
I was gonna ask.
I don't use that many commands because I would get confused myself. There are people who use even more commands depending on where they stand in position to the jump. But for me, that's the jump, which take the jump in front of you. And then I would say Ida, 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 especially if I'm very far back, which means just keep going straight, power on, fast.
Don't wait for me.
Ida,
Is that the
Ida.
one? Is that the one that says don't wait for me?
Yeah. Just
What
go.
language do you use for agility?
For me, English.
And what's Ida?
So there's no rules, right? Whatever language you can use.
No, you just use whatever. Oh, English
Yeah.
and Mandarin both.
So I mean, like for us, IGP, if we were to use whatever language, we can only use that language within the whole entire routine.
doesn't
But
matter.
for agility, it doesn't matter. So if I say jump in one, I could say two, and then whatever.
Yeah. So
anything
for
else.
my dog, she knows 左 and you. 左
Mm.
you. For tight turns, turning left, turning right, she knows her left and right, which means you're still jumping long, but you're going right, a bigger round of right, a bigger round of left.
James is so confused.
My
So
dog
for
won't
the,
recognize-
for the
Left,
dog,
left, right.
my dog is
I know,
literally
I
quiet.
train
I
so
don't think
much
she even
that
can
I
tell.
can go you 左 in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
agility course. But if I'm driving or if I'm standing somewhere and you tell me, you, and I'll be like 左 you. Oh, okay. It takes me a long time to actually compute. But if I'm in the agility course somehow, yeah, I can do it.
I think
So you
I think
have
right.
two. So you have two commands for, let's say, a left jump, which is one is take a tighter turn, and one is
A longer turn. Yeah.
ah.
And then jump and power ahead.
I find it so difficult, especially when you
Yeah.
especially when you do that course, you have to remember it within that given amount of time, and it's a new course. I think it's so hard.
In the beginning, I thought so much it was remembering. And then when I started going for courses and workshops, what they were teaching it's not so much remembering the course, but also remembering the movement and how you move when you run. So having the course in your mind, and it's like a dance.
Yeah.
Is there like markers, like 1, 2?
Yeah. Oh my God,
You wouldn't have time to look at it.
there are though, right? There are numbers,
I saw numbers.
but
I've
you
seen
don't have
numbers.
time to look at it.
Yeah. You only have time to look at it when you're walking the course. After that, you wouldn't have time because it's just like that, and your dog would have missed that jump and went for something else.
Yeah.
So you have 7 minutes at the start to walk the course and basically take whatever mental notes that you want to take, and then okay.
And you're out of the ring, wait for your turn.
You know what this reminds me of? This really reminds me of WRC, World Rally Championship, because you got a co-driver reading out pace notes to you that to us means nothing, like 3, easy left, 90, sharp, drop, 5. And to the person listening on the TV, like you have no idea what's going on, but he has just told him how much to turn, how's the gradient of the turn, the speed, which gear to use, get it at what revs, right?
Oh, wow.
And it feels, yeah, if you watch the WRC, because there's always a driver and a co-driver, and the pace notes is phenomenal, like super concise information. And it matters, like every single second matters, because you miss a turn and you're coming in too fast at the wrong angle. And it really feels
Life
like
and
that.
death.
It feels like the partnership between you and your dog is like you are the co-driver and you are issuing pace notes because the dog doesn't know what's the course, right?
Makes sense.
And
Yep.
only you know the pace notes. So you are telling the dog fast, slow down, sharp right, go straight, weave. And the dog has to trust you because
But that's the beauty of the sport, right? So that the
Yeah,
beauty of the sport is that you know it, but your dog doesn't know it. And the combination of you and your dog has to be super clear and in sync. That the moment I say left, he must understand to go left, jump. Before he sees the jump, he must know which jump there is. Or whatever. It could be an
This-
A-frame, it could be a
this-
Timely
tunnel.
manner. You must give it
This-
in time. Not
Yeah.
as he's approaching and you're like, no, turn left, and he's like,
Yeah, correct.
too late.
It's the same. I mean, yeah, what
You know,
what
this
James is
is-
mentioning, it's the same.
this
As Lali.
is better communication than some people we have to work with, like me and my carpenter or me and my plumber, right? And this is definitely better communication than a lot of um, friends and brothers and sisters and husband and wives, because it me and my sister driving. I think
That's another episode. That is called What's Up Man. That's a What's Up Man
take
episode.
this exit. No, wait. Let me see. No, not this exit. No, wait. Oh, shoot. That was the exit.
So in terms of like going competition, right?
Ways, and they're like, hey, turn left, and you're like, now? How? I'm driving
Are you
at
sure? Are you sure?
No.
you
In
sure?
400 meters. I'm just letting you know in advance.
So in competition, wouldn't it be better? Would you have the advantage of going last?
You definitely will. You definitely will. In the beginning, in the heats, in the World Championship heats, what will happen is they will get a draw. And then depends on your number, you go accordingly. And then once you go into the finals, the people who were the fastest are actually the last person to run.
Oh, okay.
So you would have the advantage of seeing other people
Yeah.
make mistakes.
Mhm.
But when you've already started walking the course and you've practiced the course in your mind, and if you suddenly just change, I'll do it differently, you might find yourself getting lost in the course because you just change your plan. That could happen. And the other thing is, if someone else, based on the previous run, they're placed first and they go really fast and they're clear. And a lot of them achieve that. And when it comes to your turn, you know that I have to achieve this amount of time and I have to be clear to be able to win them, to get the placing or whatever. There's extra pressure on you as well. So there's the bad and the good
Pros and cons.
in it. Yeah, there's pros and cons in it.
So personally, where would you prefer to be? Can
I
you go
prefer
for?
to go later. Because I do have an issue with remembering courses. So if I have the time to sit at the side and just practice it in my mind before I go in, it actually helps me a lot.
So I mean, to sum up our podcast, there are a couple of things that I think I want to add in terms of what can we do as a community to get more participants. That's one. Two is what tips you could give for someone who really wants to get into it, no matter what dog they are. What can they do? Three, if there was someone who really wanted to get into a certain level, maybe like your level of world championships or whatnot, what breed would you recommend? And why, of course. And yeah, I mean, these will be the three main things. Lastly, and one more, locally, could they ask you for any lessons or whatever? Do you conduct any training or whatnot? So I think these will be the top 4 questions I have to summarize and sum up our conversation here.
Mm-hmm. So the basic thing to get into a sport or any sport, I would say, is the foundation, how you bring up your dog. and how you learn to communicate and get the attitude. So that you can easily do online. There's so many courses online, even learning how to play with your dog. Or if you want to do it locally, you can definitely ask me. Or I would say you could ask Michael. He's really good at it. Michael Lee from Tigerland.
Yep.
Yeah, he's brilliant, and he has online courses as well.
Yep.
So go to the professionals because they have a online structure set up for you, and you could actually submit your videos and then get feedback weekly from them. So they already have the structure for that. So that's very easy. You could do it anywhere. You could do it from your home, in the comfort of your home. That's the starting point. And then once you're there, if you want to go into the agility part with the obstacles, you can definitely find me or CSC in Kuala Lumpur to go further into the agility part. And then for the breed, I think it really depends on your own lifestyle. What breed do you like? Do you want a small dog, a medium dog, or a big dog? I always said I don't want a Mallee, also because I didn't want a Border Collie, also because I wanted to go overseas and I didn't want to bring a big crate. I wanted a small dog that I could just go and carry in cabin, but Gaga changed it. But I would still prefer a small dog, which is a lot easier for me to go around in Europe. So it really depends on you, your car, how you're going to travel. So from there, you decide on the breed. With the Border Collie, it's definitely a lot easier to train and to work with. But we are not able to find good breeders here in Malaysia. Mike might start breeding in the future. I don't know. He has
Mike also has Border Collies. Yeah.
Pretty good Border Collies now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So with Shetland Sheepdog, you would definitely have to get from overseas. You're really looking for agility line. But whether you can convince them to sell you one is another thing. But you could get a Jack Russell. Jack Russells are also really good. Poodles as well. So any dog basically that suits your lifestyle.
So where can they find you?
They can find me.
You see, you don't have.
Yeah, we don't have. We don't have. We're not around to doing it.
Yeah. This is the thing I've been telling Honey to do. She needs an Instagram account for her training and all that stuff. But I guess the best way they can find you and watch all your stuff. They're not gonna find much there, but you need to have your own, right? So for our listeners here, I think we could get them involved to help you. Set you. Yeah.
I don't even really update my own Instagram or Facebook.
You need to do that. I mean, because honestly, I think you're very inspirational in the sense of the agility standards that you've set in Malaysia. It's commendable for sure. Not many people can go up to that level and bring their dogs overseas to compete on a level. The thought of me competing agility in world championships, it's insane.
It's more for the fun of it. Oh, if you don't do well, oh well.
That's the thing. That's the thing. This is my take, my personal take. I'm traveling 12 hours to compete for less than 15 seconds. So
yeah, and
right?
if you,
it's true.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that is for me. It's not worth it. At least IPO, I still have tracking. I have obedience. I have protection. It's 3 phases. And then it makes my holiday longer, right? But yeah, I mean, So I mean, any questions for you? Yeah.
No, I was gonna say. So, when you travel, your dog is with you in the hotel room, or how does it work?
It depends on the place you book to stay. So far we've been pretty lucky. The Airbnbs allow us to bring the dogs in.
Wow.
So yeah, the dogs are in the room with us.
And do you have to crate your dog? Like, as in, like, will they rest, or is it a case of like, no, they will just shut down themselves?
Well, she's used to staying in the house with me, so she will rest. Yeah, so when we're conked out, because we have training and then we have competition, and in between when we're sleeping, we are sleeping as well. because it's also a lot of mental stimulation for them. It's a new environment. Even the ground is different. They've never run on carpet or sand. It's always been grass here. And then so many dogs, so many people. And then when you're running, if you make a mistake, sometimes they play a sound like those sounds that you're playing really loud as you make a mistake, and whoa. So it's really, really different environment for them. It takes a lot out of them. Yeah.
It's a bit harsh, right? You jump the wrong jump, bang, sucker. Shit, that hurts a little bit.
But at the same time, the people are very encouraging. So if you travel so far and you take that wrong obstacle, everyone's cheering you on and encouraging you to keep going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll be so nervous. It's such a nerve. You just imagine you're in a stadium, like a hall full of people. But they made a noise because you made a wrong turn.
Arena.
Yeah, and then everybody is cheering you on. You don't know if they're cheering you on or they're laughing at you.
Definitely cheering.
I'll be so nervous. At the start, I might even say the wrong word.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Sorry,
Sorry, one important thing. So do you carry the Malaysian flag with you? Do you wear it when you compete for Malaysia?
Yes. We did. Opening ceremony, we have to flag.
Nice.
How many people, one country can send how many representatives? For
It depends on the competition. They will state 5 or 3, or for the European Open, which is the Open Air World Championship, there is, I think, 10 per jump height.
Is it like usually the same group that you go with because agility is such a small?
Yeah, but that's also the fun in it, because you go there and you socialize, you meet the same people, they're your friends, you develop very good friendships with all these people, and it's a social event as well as a competition.
Sorry,
and that's the best thing, is everyone is cheering everyone on. That's the best part of agility, and everyone's helping you as well.
Yeah. So I forgot to ask this earlier. How do they set the height?
Depending on the height of your dog, on which class you're in, large, medium, or small.
Also, there's like a range for a height that says you are medium, and then all medium dogs have to jump this height.
Yes.
Right. So 60 cm, for example, if you're 60 cm, you are large. Like for Melly, for example, you'd be 60.
Yeah, Melly would be a large, and they're jumping. What's the height? I can't remember. 24 inches, I think.
24 inches, what's that? Is it?
It's about 2 feet.
Oh, that's only 2 feet. Okay, so it's less than a meter, less than the.
Yeah, definitely less than the IPO jump.
You got speed, man. If you're jumping 1 meter full speed.
Yeah, I was gonna say at 1 meter full speed, that's gonna be quite dangerous, right?
Flying.
And then having to land and do a sharp turn, I think there's gonna be injuries galore.
Yeah, that's why we teach them to actually, like, how people take the corners when they're speeding in F1. You slow down, change your body as right before you jump. So when you land, you don't get injuries. You're already in the right direction.
So technical.
Yeah.
Do you, like, if your dog is running too fast, do you say slow down? I'm just very curious. Do
Some
you
of you do, yeah. For some things, I just say slow down, run.
Keith, this is the part where our dogs will excel.
So and then
Dog turns back and says, "I got this."
He will go into like super slow mo. Okay.
Nobody does slow like me. That's our dog right there.
But I think, like, if you're saying that all dogs can, I think there's certain limitations, right? Like the larger breeds, like the heavier dogs are usually, I think, like, how to say it?
You don't see that many Rottweilers competing. Also because they tend to be very big. So when they have to go into the tunnel, they have to jump down before they go in. So I think it does slow them down a bit more. So in terms of speed wise, you would lose a little bit if you're at that level. Because the first and the second would talk about milliseconds. That's the time difference.
let's move on. Talk about something else.
But then again, James, like now there's so many pocket rockets, right? There's so many pocket rods.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so
You know
many
what?
that.
I reckon Hilda be
Our
pretty
friend
cool.
in Thailand, his Rottweiler, a female Rottweiler. Oh, I love her.
No,
Is
I
Ben's-
feel-
Unfortunately, he says I
Ben's
can't find
Rottweiler?
a working rod to breed her. So I want a Rottie from her.
Ben's
I-
Rottweiler?
Ben's Rottweiler, yeah.
good size.
From-
To be honest with you, right? To be very honest with you, I'm
From
not
Finland.
a big fan
From
of the big-
Finland.
Yeah, I'm really not a big fan of big Rottweilers. Like I'm really not. Like if you read the standard, they're actually classified as a medium to large dog. So actually, medium is a very acceptable size for Rottweiler, and I find that at medium size, far less health issues. They live a lot longer. They move a lot better.
James, you got to understand a medium rod is like the high end of the medium in agility. They'll be like huge in agility.
No, his
No.
my friend's Rottweiler is definitely a lot smaller than Gaga. And he got it from a very reputable breeder, a very well-known working line Rottweiler breeder in Finland.
Finland would be oh, it's like a 3 syllables Giovanna or something. Hang on 1 second. Hang on. No.
Very
but
correct.
Yeah,
Something Nivalis.
So, honey, I just have one more question. What is a day like for you? What do you do when you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning or something? Since you have so many of those, what is like a day like for you in terms of like training wise?
Okay, training-wise, I tend to do them all about the same time. So in the beginning, I was teaching my dogs to wait your turn. So they'll be waiting at the side, and then one will be doing the exercise. And then the next one would, you go and wait, and the next dog will do the exercises. So when they're puppies, more tricks, but first thing, potty in the morning.
How long is like one training session? How generally, like how long would it take for one dog?
For the tricks or the conditioning session, it's just like 5 to 10 minutes, not long. 5 to 10 minutes per dog, very fast. And you'll see them like, they are tired already. So don't talk about tracking. I never wake up for it. A minute for 2 weeks. So I used to go in the morning for my agility. Now I can't wake up, so I go in the evening. I try to go at least 5 times a day, but with the rain and everything, sometimes I don't go for a week or more. So
5 times a day?
5 times a week.
Okay. That would make me feel like shit. 5 times a day.
The only exercise they do is agility and then conditioning sometimes, not every day also, because I am a bit lazy. But when they're puppies, they do the tricks every single day and they learn the conditioning tricks every day.
Okay. So
Johanna Nirvana.
just
Nirvana.
to
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
correct. Joanna. Yeah. Anyways, I think we're time. But thank you so much for doing this, honey. Really
welcome.
appreciate this. And I guess to end this, where can we find you? Really?
You can contact us on MSC, Malaysian Shetland Club.
Okay, use that portal. Fine. Yeah. And of course, if you sorry?
If you're
No, I
in
was gonna
Penang, you
Yeah,
drive
correct.
past the area and you most likely will see us training in the evening. If
Where
the weather is
in Penang?
We're next to the Moral Uplifting Society. There's a big field there. So our training ground is over there.
Every day?
Everyone knows it as a dog training ground.
Are you guys at there every day?
Well, weekdays we try to go when we are available. So like 4 or 5 times a week, if there's no rain.
So anybody just can come and say, I want to watch you guys train and
Definitely you can come and watch us. Yeah. But if you want to do the agility, you definitely need the foundation first.
that's so cool.
Definitely. So where can we find you, James?
I make the most noise on Facebook, Malaysian Working Rottweilers Club.
Ah,
That's the only place you'll find me.
Keith, where can we find you?
The Instagram handle will be king_Koda the Roti. And how about you, Brendan?
They can find me on Baros Von der Tigerland on Instagram, and of course on our podcast account, official account on Instagram would be What's Up Dog _podcast, and be sure to subscribe and of course comment
Every
whatever.
Wednesday. Every Wednesday.
Yep.
Every Wednesday.
And the good news is we're gonna launch episodes every Wednesday at 11:30. So whenever you're free, just pop up. And yeah, we're getting really serious with this right now. So it's good. A lot of people are enjoying it, and we're trying to up our subscribers because that helps us do more content and of course invite more guests, local and international, of
Make this-
course. And yeah, so
make
thank
dog
you
sport
so
more popular.
much. Sorry, yep, make dog sports more popular, inspire people, motivate people. We want it educational. We want people to really enjoy their times with their dogs as well.
Just
So
go
of
out and train
course,
and train.
I like it. I love it. I want some more of it.
yeah, thank you so much.